The search for verisimilitude in writing, for getting right your facts in fiction, that's something for everyone. On my blog, I wrote a review of Bear Grylls' second thriller, Burning Angels, in which I was less than complimentary about his storytelling. There were a lot of faults, I thought. One was how he misrepresented known facts. This attracted a comment from a reader. "Why would you expect factual information in a fiction book?" she wrote. "Isn't the point of fiction that it is not true?" No, the point of fiction is not that it is not true. Unless the fiction is a complete nonsense, any fiction in any genre is going to be a mixture of make-believe and facts. The facts are there to give verisimilitude to the make-believe. Verisimilitude, the simulation of verity or truth. It's what writers use to persuade readers to suspend disbelief. The fiction, the story, is not true. But the writer wants the reader to believe it is true for the duration of the story. The reader also wants to believe in the story. Even though they know the story is a fiction, they want to believe in order to be able to enjoy the story, to be captivated by it and carried along. There is an unwritten contract between every author of every work of fiction and his or her readers, that the readers will try to believe the story and that the author will do everything possible to help the readers suspend their disbelief. Doing everything possible includes getting the facts right. There are at least two sets of facts present in any work of fiction. One set are external to the story. The other set are facts that are internal to it. External facts set the scene. If the story takes place in East Africa, the author should not start blending in elements from the Arctic, for example, or the Caribbean, or from Central Europe, unless they give a very plausible reason for doing so. If the story is centered on modern-day Nazis who revere the historical Hitler, then having them describe Hitler in a way that is not historically accurate is a slip that is just pointless to make. In Burning Angels, Bear Grylls says Hitler had brown eyes, but Hitler's eyes were blue. It's not that these external facts are central to the story. Probably there will be many readers who neither know nor care what colour Hitler's eyes were. But there will be readers, like this one, who do, and who will find their suspension of disbelief challenged by this mistake. And why would you want to undermine your reader's suspension of disbelief? Okay, if you are Bertolt Brecht and you are trying to alienate the reader, but Bear Grylls is not Bertolt Brecht, and Burning Angels is trying to be a thriller and not an avant-garde political tract. Internal facts in a fiction are those facts that are central to the story. These are really significant. Once the story is rolling, the author and the reader, each individual reader, will start to build a collection of facts they know about the characters, the situation, and the events of the story. The author needs to stay true to these facts. If he doesn't, again, the reader's suspension of disbelief is going to be challenged. For example, in one chapter of Burning Angels, Bear Grylls has his hero and his hero's female partner smear themselves with stinking animal dung. This is in order to hide their scent from tracker dogs. In the very next chapter, before either of them have had any opportunity to wash, they are still out in the bush, they are still trying to avoid capture, it's still night time. The hero finds himself attracted to his female companion because of her womanly smell. I am going to guess it is not the smell of the smeared animal dung. Although, I don't know, I could be wrong on that point. It's a while since I read the book. Maybe they used lion dung? Maybe the woman, in the dark, carefully chose the dung of a female lion, and our hero is reacting to the pheromones in it? That doesn't work on so many levels. It's much more likely that the author just forgot what he had written in the previous chapter. I don't want to find myself doing a hatchet job on Bear Grylls. The man is a legend, a hero to many. More to the point, as a former member of the SAS, he could probably hunt me down and kill me in a number of secret, silent ways. I'm probably not the target audience for his novels. I think of my just pre-adolescent self, the one who thrilled to the adventures of flying ace Biggles and worked his way through all the Dick Francis novels available in the adult library when he wasn't supposed to. Maybe that reader would skip over all the slips in Burning Angels and end the book satisfied, but I am not that person anymore. As an aspiring writer myself, I look at Burning Angels and all I can focus on are the mistakes. Not one of them is excusable. Not one is beyond putting right. All of them could have been, should have been caught in the draft by a competent editor and fixed before publication. Now I'm thinking back to Dick Francis. Famously, he would spend months researching his crime thrillers before writing them. It was his wife, Mary, who did a lot of the research. This was all with a view to getting the external facts straight. Francis was a jockey and had been a pilot during the war. When he wrote about those worlds, he relied on his own knowledge and his experience, but at least one of his protagonists was an artist, another was a banker, there were journalists, private investigators, a wine merchant, an architect. Francis went to great lengths to get the external facts of these professions correct. This was because he understood his audience. Most of them were not going to be artists, bankers, or wine merchants, or even jockeys, but his readers did include people with enough knowledge of these professions that if he had got his facts wrong, they would have noticed. The fact that he was known to be accurate in his research meant other readers, the 98% who were ignorant of these esoteric worlds, had their faith in his facts bolstered. But Francis was writing crime thrillers, and there was often a mystery that needed solving too, and this meant his internal facts had to be consistent as well. They were. Francis wanted all his readers to be caught up in his storytelling, not just the gullible. He was out for verisimilitude, and by and large, he achieved it. By the time of his death in 2010, Dick Francis had published 40-plus novels, a few of the later ones he co-authored with his son Felix. He was a Fellow of the Royal Society, the Royal Society of Literature, and a winner of a string of awards from the Mystery Writers of America and Britain's Crime Writers Association. It remains to be seen whether Bear Grylls will win similar plaudits from his fellow writers. If I wrote thrillers, I know which of the two I would aspire to emulate. But the search for verisimilitude in writing, for getting right your facts in fiction, that's something for everyone. Unless you're channeling Bertolt Brecht.